Long ago in a distant banner, I, Merlin, the buster memeing grandcaster of FGO, unleashed an unspeakable evil. But a foolish version of Shisho wielding a magic wand stepped forth to oppose me. Before the banner was dropped, I tore open a portal in time and flung her into a maintenance where my evil is law. Now the fool seeks to revive quick cards and undo the meta that is Merlin.
So, we've been living in a Skadi-dominated meta on NA for quite some time, haven't we, guys? Did I say Skadi? I meant Merlin-dominated. Scratch that. But it's finally time for Skadi to bring us a Skadi-dominated meta. I'm sure that you've been hearing a lot about how good Skadi is, but for those naysayers or those who don't know why she's so damn good, let me explain to you what makes her so powerful. It is the Skadi System. But Thor, what is the Skadi System, you may ask? But very simply, it is a team formation consisting of 2 Skadi supports and 1 quick NP servant. With Skadi's 50% quick buff that lasts for 3 turns, combined with the high hit count of most quick MPs, it lets the buff servant clear the wave and regain enough MP charge to use their MP on the next wave with Skadi's charge. Since it lasts for 3 turns, it allows you to 3-turn farm most waves with incredible ease and incredible speed. It can also be applied to a powerful single-target servant if you're trying to 3-turn a challenge quest with similar results. This is the Skadi System. But Thor, you ask, why should I be interested in the Skadi System? I'm not some min-max power gamer. Well, my friend, as much as you may love turn-based RPG combat, I don't think you want to spend 10 turns on every node during events. In a game that is 90% made of 3 waves of multiple enemies, being able to quickly and mindlessly just grind through that stuff isn't power gaming, it's just respecting your own time. But Thor, why would I use the Skadi System when arts looping can work? Well, there are some advantages that the Skadi System has over the arts looping setup. Aside from featuring your really hot teacher in a tight, elegant dress, that is. Technically, this is a more shared advantage they both have, but wide flexibility of CE choice is the first big thing I can think of. The only CE that matters is the one on your attacker. This leaves 5 CE choices open for you to equip, which is great for events. In some cases, you can even have 6 event CEs equipped. Now, on to actual advantages over arts specifically. Large star production. When you use the Skadi System, you are making use of quick cards. This means you are producing a large amount of stars. This is the main advantage over something like arts. Sometimes your Noble Phantasm won't have the firepower to one-shot something in the wave, and if that happens with the Skadi System, you will have enough stars for a guaranteed critical attack to follow up and kill it. With the arts, you lack that kind of follow-up. Higher flexibility in attacker choice. As of right now on JP, there are about 19 candidates for Skadi System looping in the AoE class. Meanwhile, the art side only has about 9 total attacker candidates. This means that you can cover a wider variety of weaknesses and more easily have a looping candidate. And finally, Edmund Dantes has no weakness. If you care about the most brain-dead, easy setup of all, then take Edmund Dantes, double Skadi, and you can farm anything. Any class, it doesn't matter. That setup will get the farming done, unless they suddenly make Moon Cancers common, I guess. Now, unfortunately, the Skadi System isn't 100% perfect. It does have some drawbacks. First off, your important skills have to be max leveled, not only on Skadi, but also on your main attacker. Second, you want 3 enemies to attack due to how NP gain works. We'll get into that a little bit more in depth later. And finally, the Skadi System setups really want you to have a max limit broken kaleidoscope. This isn't necessary, and I will go into alternatives later, but it is the most efficient way for it to work. A lot of wiki info you can search out there will assume that you have one, and hope that you have one, but I, again, will give you a couple of alternatives. Okay, so if I've convinced you now, I'm sure you're wondering how the Skadi System works, and you want to know how to set it up. I'm going to go into just a little bit of the more technical side of FGO now to explain. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and start off by telling you that your main 3 cards, first card bonus, does not affect your Noble Phantasm card. If you don't know what I mean, if you play your Buster card first, it'll increase 50% flat damage to the following cards. If you play an arts card first, it adds an additional 100% to the card's MP gain modifier, and if you play a quick card first, it adds 20% critical star rate. Now, if you play one of these cards before your Noble Phantasm, it isn't going to affect the NP. The Noble Phantasm card will always 100% of the time count as a first card played, regardless of when you actually do play it. So, at the end of the day, you kind of always want to just lead with your Noble Phantasm card. So then, what are the important things to pay attention to? Well, I would say that it's very simply the following. We need to pay attention to your card type buffs, as in quick buffs for the Skadi system, your MP generation rate buffs, as in things such as Golden Rule and whatnot, and to make sure you overkill the enemies with your Noble Phantasm. Since overkills are important, that does mean raising a higher NP level helps a lot, but it isn't always required. Just keep it in mind. And also the number of enemies. You want 3 enemies. Again, with the way that gaining NP works, the more enemies you have, the better. Now then, let's go a little bit more in-depth into things, shall we? Let's lower the lights here. Let's really talk. So, to really get technical, here is the formula for gaining NP per hit. MP gauge percent per hit is equal to offensive MP rate times, in parentheses, card MP value times, in parentheses, 1 plus card mode, in parentheses, times enemy server mod, times 1 plus NP charge rate mod, in parentheses, times your overkill mod. Boy, that's a mouthful. Don't leave. You don't have to do this math. You don't need to know all of this. This is just going to make it really easy for me to tell you what you need to pay attention to, and it's for those weirdos like me that find it interesting. So let's go through each of these variables one at a time. First off, offensive MP rate is equal to your servant's passive NP charge rate on attack. This is a hidden stat that you can't see in game, and you'll have to look up on a wiki or something. Your card NP value is a static number, 3 for arts, 1 for quick, 0 for buster. Your card mod is your percent card type increase. So for example, if you had a 30% arts up or a 30% quick up, it would be a 0.3 here. Your enemy server mod. This is a special parameter. This table here shows you how that special parameter works. Basically, certain classes will give you a little bit more MP charge, certain classes will give you a little bit less MP charge, and certain enemy types will give you a little bit more or a little bit less MP charge. It's really weird, and honestly, you don't need to pay attention to much of it other than assassins and berserkers give you less MP charge and are a little harder. That's all you need to take away from that. Next up, your MP charge rate mod. This is for your MP boosting skills, like for example Dante's Golden Rule skill. And finally, the overkill mod. This is a very simple static number, 1 if you normal kill them, 1.5 if you overkill them. Since overkills give you more MP charge, getting that overkill is important. Again, you might want to have an MP level 2. Now, by looking at this formula, you can see that having both the card type up and your MP charge up is better than having one of either. For example, if we had 100% quick up and 100% MP rate up, that results in 2 times 2 equals 4. Meanwhile, if we have 200% quick up and no MP rate up, that results in 3 times 1 equals 3. Now, remember, this formula is NP gain per hit. That is why you want 3 enemies. Now, let's go ahead and do a simple application of this formula. Let's take Edmund Dantes, who has a 0.62% NP attack rate. Let's say he has no buffs other than his passive 3% MP gain at the end of his turn, and say he's against normal sabers, so it's just a simple times 1, and he overkills all of them. The formula would now look like this: 0.62 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1.5. And so all that comes together, 0.93%, and that is per hit, so we're not done yet. So we add in times 8 hits, because his MP has 8 hits, for 7.44. Let's assume there's 3 enemies, multiply that by 3. The resulting MP refund would be 22.32%, plus his 3% from his passive for 25% total. That's pretty low, a little pathetic even. So What would it look like if we add in 2 Skadis? And his Golden Rule skill. All 3 of those buffs, the Skadi Quick Buff, the Skadi Quick Buff, and his Golden Rule, last for 3 turns. So let's go ahead and plug those numbers in. Now the formula looks like this. 0.62 times 1 times 2 times 1 times 1.5 times 1.5. And now when we work all of that out, we get 2.79% per hit, with 8 hits for 22.32% and 3 enemies, 66.96, plus 3% passive, 70% refunded NP. But Thor, that's not 100%. No, it's not, but both Skadis have a 50% ally MP charge to make up for the rest of that, so it's very simple to get that last bit in. Basically, the reason I pointed all this out and gave you all this math was to show you the incredible difference between having no Skadi buffs versus having those Skadi buffs. We went from 25% MP charge versus the same enemies to 70% NP refund. That is 45% better. And Skadi can do this for lots of different servants. And again, if you don't quite make it to 100%, that's not a big deal. You have the option of Skadi's ally buff. You have the option of doing a plug suit swap and having some other servant give you some MP charge. You have possible CE equips that can help gain you further NP on your straight charge. And you have the Mystic Code help with Fragment of 2004 with its own NP rate gain buff. Really, the goal of Double Skadi isn't to get back to 100% each turn, but to get to at least 50% and have Skadi fill in the rest. So, what servants can work with the Skadi system? Alright, now that you're math wizards with our formula, which servants work with Skadi? Our list is going to include some JP exclusive servants, so spoiler alert, so you're going to see some stuff. Let's go ahead and start off with our standard, good at looping servants. First off, we have Edmund Dantes, we have Berserker Lancelot, we have Atalanta, we have Parvati, we have Valkyrie, we have Marie Antoinette, but only versus casters, we have Achilles, but only versus casters, and we have JP exclusive servant Voyager. And the following servants can be used with Skadi looping, but they do need a little extra help from swapping in an extra charge servant like a Waver or a Nero Bride. They are as follows: Astolfo, Space Ishtar, Summer Ishtar, Summer Shisho, Summer Ushiwakamaru, Summer Okita Soji, Sei Shonagon, Lakshmi Bai, Frankenstein, Bradamante, and finally, Bartholomew Roberts. Anyone that is not an extra class should only be used versus the class that they have an advantage against or berserkers, unless of course they are kind of low on the lower spectrum, such as with Marie Antoinette or Achilles, who should stick with only casters, for example. Out of these servants, the most versatile and easiest to use are, of course, Edmund Dantes and Berserker Lancelot. Our boys here are easily the best two to use because, well, they cover a wide variety of weaknesses. And they both have a built-in golden rule for themselves, which means that they both have a good way of having an extra boost to their MP regen. They're both capable of looping against almost every class in the game, basically. The only exceptions being Moon Cancers for Dantes and Foreigners for Lancelots. Luckily, neither of those are particularly common to see, and I guess Lancelot sometimes has troubles versus Berserkers due to their lower MP charge rate, but otherwise, you can use either one for anything you see in your way. So you must be wondering, how is it that you use this kind of setup? What do you do? What CEs, etc.? For each of the servants I mentioned, it's kind of assumed that you have either a max limit broken Kaleidoscope, a max limit broken Imaginary Around, or a regular Kaleidoscope to use plus a skill. On turn 1, you just have both Skadi's quick buffs to your attackers. Your attackers either use an NP gain buff or use their NP and refund at least 50% of their NP back. Skadi fills the next 50% on the next turn. Use Fragment of 2004's NP rate buff and NP clear wave 2. Refund at least 50%. Skadi fills the last 50%. Easy peasy. Follow up with cards if something survives, right? If you can't loop all three, like, for instance, you don't have a max limit broken kaleidoscope, like you see on screen, you can always have a Rash Noble Phantasm the first wave, and then allow a Skadi system to handle waves 2 and 3. This does mean that you need at least a max limit broken imaginary round for a Rash, and you do lose a little bit of your flexibility, but this is still a very viable, very easy, very reliable method to using the Skadi system setup. And it just works as simply a Rash self-charges and MPs, Skadi gets swapped in, you do your normal Skadi system setups with Skadi buffing, using any NP regen if you need to, and Skadi fills in the rest of your NP that is required. I actually personally have been using this setup a lot since I don't have a max limit broken kaleidoscope, or hell, even a normal kaleidoscope on JP. But it is very reliable, and it has allowed me to clear basically everything you can think of to farm. Now, I do have some very specific images that show the viability of Skadi with certain servants that we're going to pop in now. So, right here we have some of our main choices. We've got Dante's, Atalanta, Parvati, Valkyrie, Lancelot, Achilles, and Bradamante. And basically, the way that you look at this image and the way that it works, if it either says free or it has that little brown mark on it, then the Skadi system works with it, very simply. You can see that you have your variety of CEs to equip. At top, you have max limit broken kaleidoscope, then Petite Devil, then Magical Girl of Sapphire, and then boy, do I forget the name of that one. Anyway, as you can see, Dante's, Atalanta, Parvati, Valkyrie, and Lancelot, as long as they are against either Berserkers or a class that they do extra damage to, they're perfectly fine. Easy peasy, no problem farming whatsoever. They are going to 3-turn with Skadi. As you can see, Achilles and Bradamante have a lot more trouble. Sometimes they can 3-turn farm, but often enough those two require you to plug suit swap someone in to help out. Here we have some of our less common partners to go with Skadi, with Marie Antoinette, Summer Ushawakamaru, Summer Rin, Frankenstein, Summer Shisho, and Lakshmi Bai. And then two that I didn't mention because they really can't Skadi loop. We've got Red Hair and Zhang Yu. And honestly, just ignore those two in the back. Marie Antoinette can do some Skadi looping, but you can see this. Most of this is either not available, or it requires plug suit swap-ins with other servants and a lot of help. Like, a lot of help. You can see why I say that the viability is really down to Dante's and Lancelot being your two best choices. In fact, I want to go specifically into Dante's. This is a very, very specific image here. And basically, these triangles represent your servants to help you out, the CE that you equip. And if the triangles are white, like say, for example, the spot right to the bottom right of his hexagon, right below his portrait, you see Fragment of 2004, Skadi, and a max limit broken kaleidoscope. If they are a white triangle here, that means you are guaranteed to Skadi loop with no problem whatsoever. 100%. If it is a red loop, then it means you can do Berserkers, and that's about it, if it's a red triangle. If it's green, then you can do anything up to Riders and have no problem. If it's blue, then you need to be against casters, and if it's orange, then you can do everything up to Assassins. Essentially, what this means is look at the white triangles, that's what you want. Simple as that. If it's hard to read, Look at the white triangles. You see the 3 points of the white triangles and what's the CE inside of it? Take those and you're guaranteed to Skadi farm 100%. I'm going to pop in one for Lancelot as well. It works the exact same way. Just pay attention to the white triangles. You can ignore everything else. If it has an X in it, definitely don't ever even think about trying it because it'll never work. And that's how the image works. Simple as that. Basically, some guys did a lot of testing with this stuff, and it's good to just pop out this information for you guys, in my opinion. So, in conclusion, the Skadi system is actually, like, really, really easy to set up. It's super simple. There's a fair bit of technicals under the hood, but at the end of the day, it basically, it looks like this. No, you can't just use the same lineup for every battle. Haha, Skadi system go brrr. I've been using the Skadi system with Zerk or Lancelot for nearly every single farming battle out there for the past 2 years. Because it's such a time saver. It's so simple, it's so mindless, it's so easy, it's exactly what you want for mindless grinding. Hopefully, you'll all find this useful. We'll have a good time zooming through your quests with Skadi, and make sure to enjoy her big, thick thighs. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and see you later, guys.